date tonight, so I'll have to just look good. No, I'll just do it in front of her. She don't need it.
He's kept going. He scored! Oh, Stockport pressure. And the header into the net. And a superb goal. Johnny did it. Gleeson! Rose tries to get the ball in. Wilkinson!
It's a 5-star performance from Stockport County.
All right, we got a small house, a small house, but we got a big bloody heart, I tell you.
Hello and welcome to the 12th edition of SK3 TV, the weekly live streaming podcast giving you the first word on the weekend's action about a specific pre-designated third-tier football team. Is it that team who's one of only 6 teams in the 92 not to have conceded a home league goal this season? Or possibly that team who's one of only 12 in the 92 to be unbeaten in the league this season? Or even that team who's one of only 4 to have scored over 100 league goals since the start of last season? Spoiler alert, it's the same team, you idiots! Yes, you know the drill by now. County chat, match previews, laughs, japes, nerdery, and a general feeling of bonhomie in a big, warm hug of a county podcast with me, Nick, and the greatest podcasting co-host in third-tier football podcasting history. It's Hannah. Hello.
Hi. You forgot. Oh, bloody hell, Wrexham have just scored.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm
Sorry,
going. I'm
just
done.
to kind of open that up. I was going to say, is this not the Wrexham watch-along podcast? Because that feels like... Someone said earlier on, didn't they? Oh, don't think you're going to get many numbers tonight. Well, A, you know, that never happens. And B, we don't support Wrexham or Birmingham. So It's nice to be interested, but I don't know that everyone is sat watching. Maybe they are. Who knows?
I've been waiting all day for someone to tweet us and say, oh, why don't you do it another night? So I could fully... I basically got angry about someone that didn't exist today and just spent the whole day waiting for them just so I could tear them down. But no.
You forgot a stat as well. As it stands, if this game that's not happening in the corner of the office ends as it is now, there will only be 2 teams in League One that are unbeaten so far this season. And however this ends, we will be one of them.
There we go. That's four stats and we're only 5 minutes in.
I know.
Well, we've come flying out the blocks there.
Well, I think that this is going to be stats heavy, info heavy, correct opinion heavy, vlog for the ages.
What more can you ask for? Cheese, maybe like a little cheese platter on the side. Maybe I should have gone round to all the viewers and delivered like a little cheese platter beforehand. That's the only way you can top that.
Yeah, well, that could be a subscriber special, like giving back to the subscribers.
For $2.99 a month, you get loads of bonus stuff and a cheese board.
Yeah, if you could like and subscribe on YouTube, that would be great. Thanks very much.
That's just fucking bouncing, just seamless. Bouncing there. I love that. Love it. Absolutely seamless. Mm-hmm. Oh God, it's seamless but not teamless.
No, and we are currently depleted, but we're going to double in size over the course of the next hour.
Well, yes. Oh, yes, we are. Yeah. There's 2 people joining us. Yes, Ben will be joining us very shortly. We will be chatting about Crawley. We'll probably discuss. I had forgotten until an hour ago that we were playing tomorrow night. I didn't put it in any of the promotional social media posts today, and I was like, "Oh yeah, we're playing tomorrow night." And then we have got a very special Leyton Orient fan / more important. Well, nothing's more important than the fans, as football clubs like to delude us into thinking they all believe. But who have we got with us at around 8:30?
A young man by the name of Marshall Taylor, who used to be the CEO at Leyton Orient, and now is a minority shareholder and sits on the board. So he's someone that I've got to know over the last few years, and he is incredibly interesting because he's very business, like he thinks about football like with a business head, but also, you know, the passion and the, you know, and obviously Orient had their first win of the season, well, their first points of the season on Saturday. So when I asked him to do this, it was before that game, and I was like, good luck for later, thinking, oh god, you know, because five games without any points would have not been the best intro, but hopefully he'll be feeling a bit more positive about their weekend games ahead. And they played Reading on Saturday, and well, he can tell us all about it, but
it's good to hear that he's business minded, because I mean, I don't want to show off or anything, but I went to B&M earlier and I got those little bachelor's pasta in sauce, like cheese and broccoli things. Got £1 each, got 2 of them. Then I noticed it was 3 for £2.40. So, you know, me and him, we like that.
I know. And speaking of, in October, we've got, well, not we, but the club has got the trip to Spain, trip to China coming up.
On that.
And I was talking to a few of them who were going a couple of weeks ago, and I think there will be some cup of soup type noodles in packages, super noodles, making their way in suitcases across to China, because there is a significant amount of trepidation about the food that they're going to be invited to eat on the trip.
There was a lot of that when the squad, when the team went a couple of times. I think, was it twice they went, like early 2000s? I know that's I'm not going to say anything more because that's just giving me a great idea. But we'll move on from that. What we'll do, we shall move on to Crawley right after this. Diana, tell us all about your day on Saturday.
I did 10 hours of driving, which felt like a lot. I've done Crawley for the last 2 seasons, but they've been weekday away, like weekday evenings, and so I've combined it with like a work in London, so an office day and then just getting the train over. It's been much more civilized. I was excited to go because I had the best chips ever at Crawley in March. That van was not there anymore. I had I love the way I've just gone into food, and I did this for Des as well.
This is what I wanted. When I said tell me about your day, this is what I meant.
All right, okay, good. Yeah, we'll save the actual football for when Ben gets here. I like Crawley as a club. You know, they've done a lot recently. You know, WAGME have come under it for a lot of criticism, but they've done a lot for the community. They have, I've never seen it anywhere else. They have like AstroTurf right next to the ground, and they use it for like kids playing football before the game, which is really lovely. And it's just really nicely done. They've got Reds Bar. I've never seen a ground with less segregation of fans, but I've equally never seen any trouble there either. You know, the bar that they have, it's just a big space. It's got, you know, nicely partitioned queues with ropes. It's very, very civilized, but everyone coexists happily, and it was very much like that on Saturday.
I don't like that.
What?
I want toxicity.
You want rumbles and
No, not rumbles, because if I wanted rumbles, that would suggest I'd be happy getting involved in a rumble, and I wouldn't.
Right. Yeah.
I'll probably break my glasses or something, and I'm not for that. But I do like a bit of toxicity. It really annoyed me seeing the for all the talk of Arsenal and Tottenham being like this bitter rivalry. During the game yesterday, it showed like the barrier between the home and the away fans, and they're sat like so close together. I was like, they don't hate each other.
And it was really apparent as well. Like, I have quite a soft spot for Crawley. You know, for me, they are the ultimate underdogs in League One this season. And as we all know, I very visibly punted them for relegation last season. So I know far better than to bet against Crawley. But I think this season they are being underestimated. And I think they feel like as fans, like a little bit of affinity to us. I think they probably think that they maybe get a bit more respect off us than they do off other teams. And one of the really nice things that Scott Lindsay said after the game was that, you know, he was really pleased to see that they held their own against us, because he said, you know, Stockport are tipped for promotion. It's great. It was really encouraging to me. I think we probably deserve more. Honestly, for probably the last 10, 15 minutes, they looked like the only team that were going to score. So kind of partially agree with him there. But yeah, I think it's always nice, isn't it, to have, but I feel exactly the same. I'm very much, I know a lot of people after this game and after Mansfield have been, it's 2 points lost. I expected nothing more than a point. We haven't won there. We've not got a good record against them. Even in March, when we were doing brilliantly, they equalised in the 83rd minute or something ridiculous. And it was similar actually to Saturday, which is really interesting and kind of speaks volumes to Scott Lindsay. Charlie made all those substitutions and it just didn't matter. And it was the same on Saturday. It's the first time this season that we've made a big chunk of substitutions in one go, and it hasn't had any impact at all on the game. I think we generally have been much better in the second halves, and that just didn't seem to materialize for me on Saturday. But it was nice to see people start to come back. Teo Adamarola was brilliant. He was my player of the game, and he was also the Football League paper's star player. So the Football League paper obviously is independent, so they always choose a star player, and that star player isn't necessarily always from the winning team. It's just whoever they think performed best. And he was their player. Referee.
Would you go as far as to say he's the thinking football connoisseur's player of the match? I would say.
I mean, I like to think so, because I have given it some thought rather than just diving in with a common name. Or I mean, sometimes it's really easy to look at like your sofa scores and things like that and just pick. But he just looked like he was everywhere, and just clearances and down that left. So yeah, he was brilliant for me. And it's obviously the first time we've seen him since that Blackburn game. And I described it as the good Blackburn game as opposed to the bad Blackburn game. But we didn't win either of them, so it's all relative, isn't it? But it's nice to see him back, and I think he'll be really good. But you know, now we have, or will have over the next few weeks, an abundance of riches in terms of players coming back. But one of the questions has been, well, who do you drop? I think possibly some of the performances on Saturday will have made that a little bit easier.
Yeah, some decisions will definitely have been made there. It's interesting because looking like ahead of tonight, I've kind of looked back at the highlights and the stats of all the other league games we've played, and at no point have we really got out of second gear.
No.
And there's probably like 2 or 3 players who would be in our first choice 11 who we haven't seen yet. So it's another one. It's nice. It's nice when we get pegged back and don't get the 3 points, because it does bring home to you just how entitled some of our fan base have become. And for all the talk last season of people calling us teams like Stockport, or I can't believe we're losing to teams like Stockport, a lot of our fan base are just the same.
Yeah,
people can't fathom that Crawley are a team who seem to have the measure of us. And it really was, going back to what you said about Scott Lindsay, it was genuinely a fascinating tactical battle at weekend.
Absolutely.
I don't normally get into all that, but probably 2 of the most promising young managers in the Football League. Yeah. And it was just so fascinating watching what was unfolding on the touchline as they're trying to outdo each other. And I think a point was the fair result in the end. People will point to penalty shouts, but I thought theirs was. I thought theirs was a penalty straight away on first watch. It was a full-on strikers challenge.
Yes, I agree with that, but I also agree with Crawley in that the tackle at the other, it was right in front of me and I can't even remember. Was it who was the challenge on?
Was it Teo, I think?
Yeah, possibly. Yes, it was. If one was a penalty, the other should have been a penalty.
Yeah.
And there was also Williams's tackle on Camps. Again, all things being equal, that should have been a yellow, which would have been a second yellow, and he would have been off. So I agree that it was a penalty, but there wasn't. And similar, like we said this after Mansfield, and interestingly, the Football League paper scored the ref 6 out of 10 on Saturday. The Mansfield ref was 7 out of 10,
which is mind blowing.
Levels
7 for that clown.
But I think, it just didn't. It felt against Mansfield like he was just equally shit for both sides, and it all kind of evened out. I felt like we were given less on Saturday, but it's referees at this level, and there will be other games where we get things that we don't necessarily deserve, and it's just swings and roundabouts, isn't it? We got the point. In the scale of things, it won't matter. I do have a theory, though. Like, so far, we've beaten Bristol, Cambridge, Blackpool, and then we've drawn with Mansfield. We've drawn with Crawley. Accrington scored first against us. What if we can only summatively beat established League One teams, and we struggle with League Two teams because maybe they know us better, maybe there's history, but that's fine, isn't it? Because we can still, we're not going to play, we're only going to play them once again. So I
mean, it bodes well for the games against the likes of Birmingham and Bolton, then.
Well, Bolton's not really an issue at the moment, is that?
It's certainly not. But you just know they will make that managerial change the week that we play them. You know that's what's
not. I mean, they've said today that they're not sacking you, aren't they?
Mind blowing, and they've got rid of some of the backroom staff. They've fallen upon the sword. It's just some of the coaching staff have gone. I think I saw. There were points on Saturday evening where I was seeing more chat on Twitter from county fans about the Bolton managerial situation because people seem to be and I thought of the jobs that are available. I thought the Stoke one would have been more up Dave Challoner Street, but that's obviously not happening either, thankfully. But we're starting to get to that point now.
Yeah, and it will gain momentum because you get like a domino effect as well. So like Harry, who does our League One Twitter, it's always Harry, it's never me. If anyone says anything controversial, it's always Harry. Except, well, no, actually it was me last week, but it didn't get quite. It was too goady, I think. I didn't get away with it because it was just too obviously clear.
Yeah, people saw through it.
Yeah, but Harry had said about talking about Schumacher, if I was Bolton's head of operations, I know what I'd be doing this morning. And that's what happens. You see this like domino effect. And we had it with Bradford last season. Mark Hughes probably went a little bit earlier than he would have done because Graham Alexander became available, and it works like that. So at the moment you've still got Pete Wild out of the job, who's fit to be a League One manager, fist bumps and all. Who else have we got? Well, Scott Lindsay gets linked with everything. But I can't see it, but I do think they will be utterly screwed if he goes. Like his presence at Crawley has just been the biggest turnaround and him not winning manager of the season last year and not even being nominated is an absolute travesty, and I'm still quite bitter about it.
Well, it was absolute madness, that was. But what are you, for a relegation favourite, to go and do that?
But to come back to Saturday, there was a Wrexham fan said afterwards something about, we want a point from Birmingham, but it'll be a good point, not like what Stockport got against Crawley. But if you look at So we're 5 games in. 5 games in last season, we were 19th. We had 4 points. And it is, thank you, Phil Lloyd, it is 1-1.
That was all up there.
So after 21 minutes, David Beckham's smiling. Oh, David Beckham stood with Tom Brady. That's backfired on them, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
of course.
I thought
Of course he
was supposed to
fucking
be Team
is.
Wrexham.
He gets where water can't, he does. Christ, of course David Beckham's there.
So yeah, but we are absolutely fine. I have no concerns whatsoever in terms of where we are versus, and we had such last season was actually a quicker start than the year before. It was an October kicking on rather than a November kicking on. But given where we are now, I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, I think the best way to look at it is if you're getting 2 points a game, then you're not going to be far from the top at all. And alternatively, if you can't win your away games, draw them as long as you're winning your home games. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah. And as you said at the opening of the show, we are we haven't conceded a goal at home.
Thank you to everyone in WhatsApp for furnishing me with it's like they know I have nothing else apart from like off-color dated humor, so that's good. I think it's probably time to bring out our guest to have a look at Saturday's game. Let's do it right after this.
Hi.
Hello.
I said twins here.
Let's hope we can see some goals this weekend, hey?
I know. Well, no. I don't want to concede any goals. So I'm like, yes. Then no. Thank you, Marsha. It's very kind of you, but no.
Hello, Nick. Hello, Hannah. How are you guys anyway?
Good, thanks. I was telling Nick earlier that I was slightly trepidatious of inviting you on, not knowing how Saturday was going to go. But I'm delighted that things have turned around, and that's it now, isn't it? Kick on.
Well, I think I've said to you before, Hannah, we had a really difficult first 4 fixtures, really, and I think if you look at the teams we've played, we've had Birmingham, Charlton are at the top. I know Bolton aren't doing great and had a good start, but they've got one of the biggest budgets. Funny enough, our first 5 games last season, we only got 1 point out of our first 5, and we had a similar difficult start to the season, the kind of top 5 teams we played, and obviously, up until about 5 games to go from the season, we were still in the chance of the playoffs. So we knew we'd have a really difficult start when we saw the fixtures, and I think if you look at Stockport, you've got a great squad, a really good budget, but you've probably had I'm going to say, slightly easier start.
Definitely.
In the sense of the teams you played, I think internally we've always broken League One up into 3 divisions. You've got your top 8 budgets where, 6 of that top 8 are mega budgets that we can't compete with. And then you've got that second league of 8 teams, and then you've got the lower league of 8 teams. And we've always looked at ourselves of we want to be there and thereabouts in that second portion of 8, and hopefully one year we can sneak into the playoffs, and then it's a complete lottery. You need to look at what Crawley did last season, for example. I've looked at your fixtures. I think you had Cambridge, you've had obviously Blackpool. You'd expect to do better than they have, but you've had 3 or 4 sides, Crawley at the weekend, that you'd expect to be that kind of bottom third, bottom 8, but you obviously had a really good start. You haven't conceded any goals at home, so you're always going to be a difficult team to play.
But Reading, I maybe would have expected you to have got more from Shrewsbury, but Reading, I was one that it again didn't feel like it felt like a continuation of your difficult start. They've been really good so far. They've been, despite everything that's still going on off the pitch. So was that a surprise? Was it, I don't know, were you expecting, did Reading count as part of your slow start, or was
Well,
that?
I think you look at Reading last year. I think they were deducted 16 points. I think if you were to add their 16 points to where they finished last season, they would have been, top 10 side.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done a really, really good job there. They've got some young talent that they've kept hold of, and sometimes. We found this at Orient before we took over 7 years ago. When we were weeks and weeks away from going to administration, it was going on for months, but the squad was galvanised. Although we went down, the camaraderie internally, they would all run through brick walls for that manager and that side. And I think, Reading have had a really difficult year and a half, being paid late. And sometimes that actually galvanises a squad that maybe aren't good on paper compared to maybe some of the top 8 sides, but can actually elevate their performance. So, away, I'd always take a point away, especially at a team like Reading, who, really for the size of the club they are, shouldn't be in this division. Say the word shouldn't, but, so I think, we were happy with a point. As I said, we started last season, first 5 games, we only had 1 point. We are where we are. We were happy with a win. It was a difficult place to go, and we had to put bodies on the line to get there. But Reading, will be there and thereabouts. That I expect them to be a top 12 side, top 10 side this season. Maybe even more if they get taken over and it goes through and there's budget in January.
And you talked there about Reading players. Reading players kind of putting their bodies on the line, and that was one of the things that was apparent on Saturday, that your players were going to war effectively for Richie, and that was the crowd got behind them and the players were unanimous. At the same time, though, you've got a manager who has perhaps insinuated that he's taken the club perhaps as far as he can go. How is that being reconciled kind of within the fan base in terms of, I don't know, trusting that he can continue to get the job done?
What do you mean? Sorry. So you're talking about Richie?
So he talked about, when the Blackpool job, he said, "Oh, well, come and talk to me." And then kind of following that, I can't remember, was it after the Shrewsbury game, that he'd implied that he didn't really know what else he could do.
Well, I think to be honest, I think Richie's just moved his family down.
Has he? Oh, he's not a Marple citizen
No,
anymore.
in literally the last couple of months, they're brought, this is the first time. I think Richie, I'll be honest, Reading, we would have taken a point away. You always need to take a point when you go, especially a team with Reading. We did really well. We got 3 points. It was great. Shrewsbury was an absolute disaster. You look at their team, the budget. We'd hope to get 3 points even away. They put in a fantastic performance. We just didn't turn up, and that's football sometimes. Mm-hmm. Richie was really disappointed about that. Richie's been with us now for some time. He knows, he works really well with us and the board and has our backing. You just need to look at what's happening at Bolton and the pressure Ian Everett's suddenly under, who's a fantastic manager. I look at the some of the fan comments in absolute disbelief that the pressure for him to go. From our point of view, we've signed Richie to a really new contract. He's on a great contact with us, move the family down. We may lose Richie to a bigger team, but I'd hope that would be a championship side or above in the future. I doubt Richie would jump to another League One team unless it was, an absolute, project that he couldn't turn down. But I think, the talk about Blackpool, I think he was really frustrated after Shrewsbury. He knows we have a budget which is limited. We are a 10, 11, 12 size budget probably in the league, and that's difficult. We were the same last year. He worked really well in what he delivered, but we're always up against the wall. But I'd like to think that unless it was a really, really big club, Richie isn't really going anywhere.
Good. With that in mind, so you talked about the budget, and last season you finished 11, as you said. You were kind of above that until right at the end. So, I mean, that's always a great way of looking at performance in terms of, are you matching, you know, where your budget position is? It doesn't always translate, but at least it's there's a correlation. Was that, you know, did you have, I mean, at Stockport, the target that the board have talked about actually is 11th. Maybe they're modelling that on Leyton Orient. I hadn't actually thought about it. But was 11th kind of matching your expectations for League One when you came up? Did you kind of have a goal in mind, or?
Well, I think our first season, I think, you know, you always want to stay up, which is the ultimate goal. You know, I think we knew we do a lot of work behind the scenes on data. You know, we're aware of, you know, we did a lot of research before we went up on what budgets the teams had previously. We're quite friendly with a lot of the owners, and a lot of the owners are quite open. You know, once the season's over, you can glean quite a lot of information. You know, so we went into that year knowing the budget position. And I think, to be honest, you know, Stockport probably, you know, look at your losses, you probably have a slightly bigger, you know, you're a relatively similar size club in the size of the stadium. I think you've got about 1,000 more capacity than we have, which you know, which limits both of us. You know, looking at your losses, you probably have an extra million and a half on your budget. You've always had really good budgets previously. You know, I think we believed last season we'd had a 10th place, top 10 budget, just possibly 9th. I think this year we're probably 11th or 12th. I'd suggest looking at data, Stockport are kind of somewhere between 8th and 11th as well in budget. You know, this is a guesstimate. So I imagine that's the kind of targets that your board have set in that sense. And I think the first year sometimes is about consolidation. I think it's very, very difficult to go up, you know, one after another. You know, I know a few clubs have done it recently, but, you know, we look at it is, you know, every kind of division is a 3 or 4 year plan, you know, and you know, you build a squad and it takes some time, you know, and we're all bought into that. So I'd like to think this year we could finish where, you know, above where we did last season, but that's a tall order in this league, because this year, you know, you know, we've got 3 or 4 clubs that are spending way more than they were last year. You know, and you've got the inflationary pressures of, you know, we had one player who, you know, was a midfielder, and, you know, he went to another League One team for kind of, you know, an extra £5,000, £6,000, £7,000 a week more than we were prepared to pay for it. And we were paying him a really good offer. It was absolutely crazy League One money. And we just can't compete that. And you can understand if you're disappointed if you lose a player because someone else is prepared to pay an extra £1,000 a week. You really, you know, get disappointed. When someone is offering £4,000, £5,000, £6,000, £7,000 extra a week, you just have to hold your hands up and say there's nothing you can do. And I think probably Stockport, although you've got a slightly probably bigger budget than us, because, you know, you know that you're in a similar position, it's difficult. So I'd hope we would be thereabouts. And I think if your board are suggesting a top 11th place, I think that's a good first season back in League One, really, to build upon.
Yeah, Mansfield had a wage issue in the transfer window that's just gone, in terms of a player that they wanted to get in on loan, and the parent club, they just couldn't afford to pay the parent club's wages, and it all fell apart, and he's stayed where he is because, you know, player has to agree to it, I guess, to a certain extent. Do you think, are you in the Birmingham are going to run away with this camp? Where do you sit in terms of those big clubs with the massive budgets?
Well, you know, I think this is the other thing. You know, we looked. If you'd have watched our first, apart from Shrewsbury, we were absolutely awful. But if you'd watched our first 3 games, we were toe to toe with every other. So with Birmingham, with Charlton, with Bolton. You know, Birmingham came to us, and, you know, I know some of the money that their players are on and the squad. It didn't look like that type of squad. You know, it didn't look like a championship quality squad. I'll be honest. You know, I don't think they'll run away with it. They'll go up definitely. But I think there will be, you know, there's a good 3, 4, 5 teams this year that are spending big money that are positioned to do well. So I don't think Birmingham will run away with it. I think but they'll definitely definitely go up this year, I'm sure.
Mhm.
They've got
And
17,000 a week. It's
madness.
And that was before they brought the striker from Fulham, who's 10 million, but that was a previous signing. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Onto this Saturday then. What can, for county fans who maybe aren't well versed in the approach at Orient, what can we expect from a Richie Wellens team tactically?
Well, do you know what? I'm not going to. I always think we've met each other a lot over the years. We were obviously in the National League. We were in League Two together, and we went up the year before you. And we've had some really good. I always think it's an interesting match between Stockport, because I think the year we went up and you didn't. I can remember playing at your place. And at certain times we were hanging on by the scruff of our neck in regard to that, and I think it's quite an exciting game, because I think both teams go for it, and I think Dave Challoner, we really respect Dave. We've got quite a good relationship with Dave at the club. I don't know if you're aware, but Justin Edinburgh, our manager, who passed away a couple of years ago, 3 weeks after going up as champions of the National League, his last competitive match was an FA Trophy final at Wembley, and Dave was the manager of Fylde, and then obviously Justin passed away 2 weeks later. So Dave was one of the first people in football to contact the club. He came to the funeral, and we've always had a good bond with Dave, and he's done fantastic from a career point of view, and I'm glad you've kept him and you've had the success. I think it will be a really end-to-end game. I think we've got a couple of players that have coming back on from long-term injuries. Jordan Graham is one who we came from Birmingham last year and has then been injured for pretty much the last 10 months and made the bench at Reading and came on. He's a fantastic player and can just change the game. So I think we've got some really good players that are coming back, and I think we've got that Reading changed. The performance was fantastic. We put our bodies on the line. It was a great game. And tomorrow we go to Brentford in the Carling Cup third round. So I think, again, if we could get a result from there, or even just a good performance from there, even if we lose, but it's a great performance, I think that could really give us the kind of energy and momentum to go into Saturday and try and come and get a result at your place, which is always a difficult job. So I think it'll be a really entertaining game. I wouldn't even like to guess where it goes, because I always think it's difficult when we play you. But I think both sets of fans should at least have, a game which is end to end. There's going to be lots of goals. I'm sure of that.
Excellent. Well, we wish you all the best for the season, apart from those two specific games. As you said before, actually, two fairly similar sized clubs in terms of stadium, and we also, something else we've got in common is that having some of the biggest clubs in the world on your doorstep. How do you manage to deal with that in terms of community stuff?
Do you know what? I was going to say exactly the same thing to you just there. And I think we're two clubs that are really similar in a lot of ways. Geographically, we have a real issue with, on our doorstep are 4 or 5 large Premier League clubs. I know you have exactly the same problem in where you are and it makes it difficult from an academy point of view. Losing young talent and senior players. And it's something we've really, really struggled with. I think the only way that we've tried to overcome that is build good relationships with those clubs to get young players on loan. We've got one now from Spurs on loan who started really well and has made a couple of first team appearances for Tottenham. He's only young, but he's well thought of there, and I think that's something we've tried to build on, but it's very, very difficult. But on the same side, it has opportunities. So when there is international weekends and the Premier League teams aren't playing, in the past we've benefited from that. We've had lots of Spurs, West Ham fans come to Orient because they want a game of football. So it has some flip sides, but it's really hard to try and compete with teams when you've got that size clubs around you. But I know you're in a similar position as well to us. We're looking at expanding our ground. I know you're doing the same. We can't compete. I think yours is about 10.5. Is that right?
At the moment, yeah.
Yeah, so ours is 9,500. So I thought you're in a rough ballpark. And I think if you look at the League One now, the average attendance is about 12,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, both clubs, both of us are under average. And I think, we're looking at somewhere between 15 and 18,000. I think you're looking at expansion of a similar level.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, in order to compete in League One, that's the size of stadium you need to be filling. And obviously, if you've got aspirations to get into the Championship, you're probably north of that. But that's really, we're on a similar journey to you as well in that sense. I think both clubs are quite similar in lots of aspects.
Yeah,
over the last 7 years, we've both been relegated to non-league, and we're both, slowly getting back up the leagues.
Yeah, I think one of the things we've talked about in the past is people talk about sustainable growth, but both clubs are doing it carefully and in a very considered way. So we've got like a phased ground expansion. So the first phase is that 15 to 18,000, and then if we ever get to the Championship, there's another one. And again, it's about not putting the cart before the horse and recognizing that there are things that need to be in place, and
there's no room for silliness, is there?
No room for silliness at Stockport County.
Yeah, and it's a lot of planning that needs to go into this, and it's not an overnight thing. But we're both at a disadvantage. Both clubs, we're under the average attendance in the league we're at. That tells you, that's an issue you've got to overcome, and you can only do that by expansion, whether move a stadium or expanding that. And it comes down to it, unfortunately. Budgets play a massive thing in the league we're in, and part of that is ticket revenue, and your attendance is similar to ours, and it's just not enough to compete. And that's why why both clubs are losing quite a large sum of money in that sense, trying to compete in this league.
And we've not, in the games that we've played so far this season, we've not come up against, I think we've got the lowest away allocation in the league. Maybe not actually now that when we were promoted, we were going to have I think Crawley will be behind us now. So I'm waiting for the away fans to start complaining about that. And then as the ground expansion starts, it'll be even worse, because we'll lose saleable capacity. So as a percentage, their offer will go down.
Yeah, we've had the same thing. We're looking at it, planning. Will we have to close one side of the ground? How long for? What's that implications? And then just to retrofit a stadium that can then host away fans and home fans is a massive cost and time. It's a real big problem. But the longer you put it off, the more of a disadvantage you've got in the league. I think both clubs need to overcome that. As will probably be moving stadium, to be honest, rather than expansion. We've pretty much ruled out. It's just not cost effective to expand where we are now. We're in in London. And
you're quite tightly packed, aren't you, as well, in terms of buildings around?
We are. So it's probably probably a ground move is the option for us. But we're going through that process right now. But I think both ownership groups, yourself and Stockport, acknowledged some time ago that something needs to be done to expand the attendance in order to be able to compete.
Yeah.
So who do we need to look out for?
Thank you so much. Where to start?
Yes.
So Louis Barry is the obvious one.
I was going to say the lazy answer is Louis Barry.
Okay, I'm going to relay this back to Richie, by the way. So
I'm
you
sure
can do. You won't be able to do anything.
You've obviously got a gem there. I know when you signed him, I couldn't believe it, to be honest. He's a great talent. So congratulations on having him.
Yeah,
we'll keep our powder dry there, though, shall we?
Yeah.
Well, I won't tell you on our formation then, but yes, we're looking forward to Saturday anyway. Hopefully, as I said, it should be a really good game. It normally is between both sides. So hopefully, we're in for a good one, and you'll concede some home goals. I hope anyway.
God,
I mean, I like you, so I want to agree with you, but also no.
We'll see. Maybe we'll talk Saturday night, Sunday, and we'll see.
All right.
Excellent. And we'll also get you on for a return fixture, and we can revisit this and see if any of our predictions came true.
Absolutely, get me on for the return fixture, definitely.
All
We'll see
right.
where we are. It'll be interesting time at that point in the season.
Yeah. gosh.
Lovely stuff.
All
Cheers
right.
so much for your time, Marshall. It's
Take care,
massively
No
Marshall.
problem,
appreciated.
Nick. Hannah, have a good one. And apart from this weekend, best of luck for the rest of the season.
Same.
Same to you, mate. All the best, pal. Cheers. There we go. Look at that. One in, one out.
Seamless.
Oh, bloody hell. Where's
You
his
know,
hair gone? Yeah, he
Not
looked
just
like
a pretty
that 5
face.
seconds ago, did he?
There was a
When it
real
popped
twins
back
thing
up,
going on there.
Because I was
Yeah.
looking, it's
Ali
1-1.
DeVito and Schwarzenegger. Yeah.
I was like, I popped across and was like, oh, I thought Marshall was going. It was bad.
Yeah. I mean, I'm often mistaken for like a really good looking, long haired man from London. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was great. That. Oh, you were very good there, Hannah. Well done.
Thanks.
That sounded very mansplainy, and you've had enough of that today. So
I have. But at
we'll
least
leave
I
that. How are we
understand
doing,
how
Ben? All right.
it works.
I'm all right. I've just come in, just had my tea. I've just been. The reason I'm late is not because I've been working late or like tending to my family. I've been poncing around doing a high intensity fitness class at David Lloyd in Cheadle. So we are. I'm
Oh
absolutely
God,
not-
you're one of them.
I do 3 a week. 3 a week. You wouldn't think so by looking at me because I look like a sack of
No one
potato.
needs to be that
But-
fit.
Yeah, I've got a target to do. Actually, ties quite. Here he is. Going to make it all about himself again. Ties in quite nicely to the Crawley game. I've got a target to run a 22-minute 5K. I'm sure some people listening will be like, "I can do that like for breakfast," but I can't. So I've set myself that target to do it by the end of the year. So I'm trying to get fit and not be out of shape.
Yeah. I've told Hannah this story already. I matched with a girl on a dating app and chatting to her, and then she said that she ran a 5K that morning, and I realised I'd eaten breakfast food for 3 meals that day, and just thought, yeah, it's not a me thing. This not a
And
me
then she
thing.
ran 5K away from you.
Yeah. She was already 5K away.
Yeah.
Wasn't enough space. Wasn't enough space.
Got a PB getting away from you.
Yeah, this is what I do. I push people to become the best athlete they possibly can. Maybe I'll come down to David Lloyd and peer through the windows at you, Ben.
Yeah,
I should.
do that. Yeah, just yeah.
I should get you doing your target. This takes us on nicely to the BDSM trophy tomorrow night. Rihanna's favourite. Now you made a very good point on the board before, Ben, about this that I wanted to bring up. Was that Everton are playing in the League Cup tomorrow night, the first team. So what type of people are going to be coming to Edgeley Park to watch them tomorrow? But having watched Everton's first team, I think they might get more for the under-21s because they are
really
fucking
I might
atrocious.
see what the odds are on Everton to be 2-0 up and then to lose 3-2 because they make a habit of doing that, don't they?
It's
But
well
you've
worth
got
a
to
go,
think
innit?
you've got to be a proper enthusiast to come and watch the under-21s over the first team. I get if your family member, like if your son or your brother or whatever is playing in the game, big moment, it's probably going to be the kids. So, I get that. But, if we were playing, I know what's it called these days? BDSM isn't the kind of the jewel in the crown of being an Everton fan. But, yeah, you've got to be on the fringes of society if you come and choose to watch that over a Carabao game. I assume it's a Carabao game. Everton are in. Big Everton are in.
It is. Yeah. It is. Yeah. Carabao, Coca-Cola, Worthington. Whatever,
I like
whatever
that your man earlier referred to it as the Carling Cup.
Oh, I love that. I have never been so hard whilst recording a podcast in my life. That was
Nick,
wonderful.
we want him to come back, and I actually, don't make it awkward.
He won't be watching this.
That's fine. I think
he'll
take that as a compliment. Yeah, he'll be going off getting another beer. I meant to ask him what beer he had. Actually, that would have been fun. It's very much just. It's like people, like you said, people on the fringes of society, family members, and probably some vloggers as well for some internet content.
They're a vlogger.
They'll probably do it as well.
public service announcement, and I'm sure that everyone is far more organised than me, but I didn't realise it was a 7 o'clock kickoff tomorrow night, which is why I am no longer able to attend. I send my apologies if they could be recorded. Yeah, 7
Are
o'clock.
you going, Ben? Are you asked?
No, I'm not. To be honest, I would go. Who did we play? I didn't go to the Accrington game.
Tranmere is the next one.
But I'd go to the Everton game because what else is it to do on a Tuesday night? So I'd go, but wife's out. She's kind of bagged being out tomorrow night doing something else. So I'm at home with the kids. So can't really leave them at home to 6 and 4. A little bit young. Leave at home.
Well, six and 4, but you'll be getting them to spot you while you're doing all your weights and shit.
If you need anything, just I don't know, just get over it. I'll be home at 10 o'clock.
TV, isn't it? So
yeah, so no, I'm not going. I'm not particularly fussed. I could arrange a babysitter and all those kind of things, but again, fringes of society. BDSM.
It's not Bolton at home in the FA Cup, is it?
Although, bear with me, humour me. I'll be back in 15 seconds.
I was going to say 15 minutes.
Right,
what do you reckon he's going to walk in with? Is it going to be a shirt, one of his children, or his workout clothes?
It'll be a shirt. There'll have been some tangential, lateral thinking. Yeah.
Right. What I've got. Look at this. So
we were guessing whether it was going to be a shirt or one of your children.
No. Well, we know which one I prefer. So, got a couple of new goodies. Look at that. This season's Bristol Street Motors Trophy shirt. Accrington game. Who scored twice? Little quiz.
Stretton.
Mr. Jack Stretton.
There we go.
Oh, hello.
Look at that.
I did enjoy the weird circular thinking that went on with this. It's like, this must mean he's going out on loan if they don't need his shirt.
Yeah, and I'm gonna this year's one. You can kind of see it's like a flock one. It's got the letters in it erased, whereas last year it was felt but kind of flat. So this is an upgrade. And while I'm here, so that was Jack Stretton's. There we go, from the back of shirt sponsor. You don't get on replicas as well. Which was from the Accrington game, and also even better while we're talking Carling Cup. I've not actually revealed this one yet. I've given the name away. There we go. From the Blackburn game, Ibi Toure.
Oh, there we go.
Probably a bit
Is
of a
this
night,
the earliest? Is this the earliest you've ever picked up a current shirt?
Yeah, I mean, what are we? Well, including the cup, 7 games in, I think.
I'm surprised.
About 4 weeks on from that cup game.
Off the Carabao Cup shirt patches.
That's exactly what's happened. I spoke to various people at the club about possibly getting older one for the collection, and pretty much all of them will have the patches peeled off, and the shirts will be reused for probably the FA Cup or whatever. So I'm really pleased. It's the first I got this last week. It's the first ever Carabao Cup shirt I've had, because pretty much as soon as the game's finished, patches come off, they get recycled. Right. Well, then, like buses, look at this. Got Yaros's from the Leicester and Harrogate game a couple of years ago with the Carabao Cup patch on. So it's been a good week.
It's a good week. Do you think by this point the club are just thinking, fuck the normal protocol, just give it him?
Just fucking give him. Well, to be fair, I am gonna give the club a lot of credit here, because in the past, I would obviously make myself known on Twitter quite a lot and all of this, and I would ask various people at the club, and it'd always be, and be like, well, didn't really get a response or anything. And then since Tom Marn has come in, he's been very good at helping support the collection. He's arranged exhibitions. He's been very
Tom Marn, future friend of SK3 TV.
Yeah,
I'll have you know.
Step up, Tom. Get on board. I promise to not be here if you don't want me to be.
We've told him that already. Don't worry.
Yeah. Been very, very good helping support the collection. And to be clear, I don't just get the shirts. They don't just give me them, and I don't just go and be able to pick what I want. I support the community foundation in quite a big way in return as a thank you for the shirt. So everyone's a winner. Club do good. I get shirts to further the collection and preserve, genuinely, it sounds a bit wanky, but genuinely preserve the history and the heritage of the club. Keep the collection going. The community foundation get a nice little financial boost off the back of it. Everyone's happy. So yeah, hopefully long may it continue.
When you say you support the community foundation, I'm just picturing them taking you into schools to play red arse.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Bend over on the goal line and have balls twatted at you.
Yeah, Monday to Friday, like the man in like the Vernon Bear costume. That's me. Yeah, just twatting around at a primary school. Yeah.
You probably sweat more in that than you do at David Lloyd, to be honest.
That's my that's my payment for for Ibi Touré's Carabao Cup shirt in a 6-1 defeat. Yeah, go and get humiliated by a load of primary school kids.
Oh, I'd love it. I've talked to quite a few people who've been club mascots, and I'm really intrigued by the psychology of it, that you turn into this, like, because it's not completely anonymous, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
In terms of
a lad I grew up with, one of those people, you kind of speak to every now and then on WhatsApp, but probably see once every 18 months. I remember him about 10 years, maybe a bit more than 10 years ago, I think when we were still in the Football League, and he was on jury duty doing, I don't know, some related case. And one of the other jurors, he was speaking to him, and he's like, what do you do? And he said he was Vernon Bear. So I don't know who it was. I never actually got the name. It's probably somebody we know who played the role of Vernon Bear. And I'm sure he did other things. It wasn't his full-time employment. It's not 37 and a half hours a week, is it, Vernon Bear? But no. He did say he was like.
What do you think? Well, that might explain some of the ticketing issues. If it is,
just Vernon Bear like that in the ticket office. Yeah, trying to get on the phone to Future with like these massive paws. Yeah.
Oh, I really want to be Vernon Bear today.
Having said he had a good relationship with the club, obviously just undone it all in the last 2 minutes. But,
If I go and help the community foundation, do you reckon they'll let me be Vernon for a game? Well, no, I'll get I'll get the BDSM trophy. Yeah. Well, I'll do an enhanced DBS check if needs be. I've been avoiding it.
Yeah.
Yes, but they never say you have to pass it on applications and stuff. It always just says applicants must do a DBS check. So I'll do it. You didn't say anything about passing it, so that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Ben, quick one. Thoughts on the performance on Saturday, because we didn't really get into the actual performance. Do you think it's fair to say that's the worst we've played in the league this season?
I mean, you could, but I think that'd be a very unfair statement. I
think sloppy would be the word.
It's a very kind of tabloid kind of headline that it was the worst we've played because we didn't play.
Podcast slums in sector all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly that. It wasn't as good as the other performances, I think is fair to say. I think we struggled in parts at Mansfield as well. It was just a bit. It wasn't kind of. We gave the ball away a fair bit. We didn't have that kind of energy. We had some bright sparks. I think Camps was really good again. Louis Barry, obviously scored that goal. Nice link up with Collar for that. But it was all just a bit. Something was missing. A little bit of. I don't know what it was. You could call it the worst performance of the season, but I think that's quite strong as well because it wasn't a shocker.
Yeah. No, I don't think we'll be seeing a shocker this season. I mean, obviously we can write off the Blackburn game because that doesn't count, given that we put some children out.
Just having a kick about, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think I would go as far as to say I don't think we'll see any shockers this season. I really don't, because the very fact that we've barely got out of second gear this season. Could argue like last 2 weeks maybe we never got out of first, but we're still picking up results in games that we probably with Mansfield we certainly did lose last season.
Again, I know there's like the word entitled and spoilt's been thrown around a lot since the Crawley game, and we'll probably get it in response to this, but I do think that Saturday's a fairly big game now, because if we win, then what are we on? 14 points from 18, will it be? Must be. Yeah, we'll have dropped 4 points. We'll be on 14 from 18. And that is an outstanding, really, really strong start. And will probably put us, certainly we'll be in the top 4, maybe even top 2, maybe even top of the league. So that'd be a really, really good position to be in. I think if we lose, it's not, it's not a disaster. We're still going to be right up there. It's still early days and all that kind of thing. But you can just, I don't know, then it goes from what was an excellent start after 3 games to probably being a bit of it's a good start, but a little bit of regret there. So it's not a must-win game or anything like that, but I think it could really shape the next month or so going into some of the games that you'd expect us to win. We've got Barnsley, haven't we? Kind of Shrewsbury, Wigan. So I think there's a few there that you'd probably look at and think, yeah, we can do something there. So like I said, I'm not saying it's a must-win game. The season doesn't hinge on it or anything kind of dramatic like that, but it'll be interesting to see what the response is, because the last 2, even though we didn't set the world on fire in the first 3 games, we were still very efficient, we were tidy, and we were kind of organised enough to get the wins. It doesn't really do us justice. We're much better than that. But the last 2 games, we've not been bang at it. So I'd like us to see something a little bit more against Orient on Saturday.
You'd expect now we're getting to that point where players, including players we spent money on in the likes of Fiorini, they're all coming back now. It's getting to the point now where players can't really allow the performances to dip, because they will lose their places in the side. So you hope it'll kick us on to the next level.
And that's it. You look at someone like Norwood, who didn't have a great game on Saturday. I saw someone put it like it's the worst performance he's seen in years from a county player. Well, you've obviously not.
It blew my mind. That genuinely had to have a lie down after that.
Yeah, exactly. So, you'd expect someone like Norwood. Well, if he's not performing, and not just him, but any player is not performing, there's at least one other player in every position, except right back, obviously. But there's at least one other player in every position who will comfortably step in and hopefully perform and take your place. And particularly that role Norwood's playing. You've got arguably one of the top 3 players at the club in Lewis Bate ready to step in or play alongside him or whatever that looks like. So, yeah, there's no room for anyone to kind of coast or anything like that. I don't for a second think like Challoner would accept that, but there's absolutely one. I don't want to say it's one poor performance and you're out. Everyone can have a poor game, but you've got to be bang at it to maintain your place in the team, I think. Which is how it should be.
I think, particularly with the central midfield thing, it's going to be Norwood or Camps who make way for Bay, and Camps is undroppable at the moment. He's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, you can't really call a player of the season after 5 league games, but if you were going to call a player of the season after 5 league games, like no one comes close to him.
Oh, I called it after 1 friendly. I called Lewis Bate as player of the season after 1 friendly. Not reactionary at all, mate. No. And I think that's been the most pleasing thing about the start of this season for me is I was never massive on Camps. I think a lot of it came down to the way we signed him, where we spent the summer trying to get him, didn't want to pay what his agent was asking, moved on to other targets, and then he became available at the price with the wage we were willing to pay. So it never really felt like he fit. Always felt like an additional player, but you turned it around.
And I think the big thing he maybe struggled with as well is that we obviously he came in as we came up to the Football League, and we'd been so successful with Collar, Crowsdale and Sarcevic, who would, just ripped the National League apart and was such a massive force of us winning the National League in 21-22. And then Camps came in and it didn't, we had a fairly poor start. We got battered by Barrow and then we lost at Stevenage in a kind of farcical manner. So, I don't think, he scored in that game, but I think he had a bit of a slow start and he showed, a bit of promise and he picked up towards the end of the season, but he was in and out of the team and never really seemed to be one of the 11 who would drive us forward. And then he picked, from probably Christmas last season, he looked really, really good. And then he's just, I'd say Christmas, maybe February, and he's just kind of maintained it into this year and been, like I say, the standout player. And that's to take nothing away from like Horsfall, who's just, class. I think Ethan Pye, the way he stepped up into League One, you forget how young he is, and he's not looked out of place. He's just taking it all in his stride. Looks like he's played here for years. Looks like he could keep going. But Camps is just the main player at the moment for me.
Cliche alert. Nice problem to have for the manager.
Nice headache to have, isn't it? Yes.
Lovely. You can't beat it. Right, we should probably wrap it up there. A bit of admin on I can't remember the date now. Is it the 9th of October when we were at Stockport?
October, yes.
Wednesday 9th of October, myself and Ben. We're chatting to Danny Lloyd about his life and career at County and beyond. Mainly County. Yeah. There'll be a Q&A and someone will ask a question about something.
What's it like to score a goal? What's your favourite goal? Yeah.
What's the footballiest football you've ever footballed? That sort of thing.
Lots of incisive cut and thrust like that. So if you are coming, thank you for buying a ticket. And £5 from the sale of every ticket goes to Alderhay to support the victims of that. I don't know, really hard to refer to it appropriately. What happened in Southport in July, which was at Danny's request. So genuinely thank you for buying a ticket, but don't come along and ask dumb questions like what's it like to score a goal. Put a bit of effort into it. Come on. You
should have made them submit the questions when they were buying the ticket. Like with Oasis for the ballot, you had to name the original drummer. They should have done something like that. Someone here's got an Oasis ticket, have they not?
Someone has, but I don't think I'm going. I was never that art, but yeah.
Do you not want to get covered in piss by a bunch of people who've not been for a night out in 25 years?
Well, that's unlikely to happen. Got a seat, which is in the sky at the back of Wembley. So I'll probably stay dry. But it depends who we're playing. It's a Saturday, so it depends, and it's September by then. So yeah, we'll see.
Imagine it's like Leyton Orient away or something. That'd be handy, wouldn't it?
Well, that'd work quite well. But also, I don't know. I just feel like it's just going to be really awkward watching two 50-odd-year-old men. Do
you know off the top of your head? Do you know how old Noel Gallagher is?
He's nearly 60, isn't he?
This blew my mind.
Is it? I would have said 54, but I didn't know what the age difference was.
He's 57, and I think Liam is 51.
Wow.
And I'm almost 40, so obviously it makes complete sense for him to be that old. But in my head, they were I don't know, late 40s, early 50s. You're nearly 60, Noel Gallagher. Yeah.
Paul Weller is 66. Imagine
I've
that.
told everybody I thought the age gap would be much bigger. If Noel is 57, I thought Weller would be 80.
Exactly. Yes, Weller was famous a good 15 years before Noel Gallagher. It's just...
Yeah.
So hang on. So 57. So that makes... How old... Yes!
Was it Stansfield? Stansfield
That's getting clipped up on the certain Wrexham podcasts. Was reacting.
Yeah, it was Stansfield again.
David Beckham looks really happy. I feel like this invitation's backfired somewhat on Rob and Ryan.
Who else? We should just have it wouldn't surprise me if they've got a red carpet outside the ground, like they do at the Emmys and stuff like that.
They had a whole light show on before it started.
They didn't.
Can I give you
yeah.
Can I give you a little fun fact? On Sky Sports coverage, when in between, when, for example, Birmingham have just scored, and as they transition from one thing to another, it flashes up the crest of the shirt. Have you noticed that? And when they line up all the fixtures on Sky Sports Extra or whatever it's called, and they have the crest of one team and the crest of another, but it's a photograph of a shirt. If you've not noticed it, you will now notice it massively on your Sky Planner and everything. I provided the County shirt for the production company who did the shirt, because they messaged me saying, "Can we buy this shirt?" I was like, "Well, yes, that's why I have a website where you can buy shirts from. Go ahead and do it." And then they asked for a discount, and I was like, "Well, no, just you've got lots of money because you're working for Sky."
You don't give discounts to people you like. So
they didn't use the shirt from the season we won the league, because the only one I had at the time was the Champions thing under it. They wanted a plain one, so they used the shirt from the season we didn't win the league when we lost to Carlisle. So yeah, that's the shirt that I sold to the production company about 3 months
That
ago.
might be the most niche, nerdy, county-related fact you've got, I think.
So there we go.
It was a
Well,
lovely
fans
assist
of
from the
niche news.
Wrexham player as well for the Stansfield.
Oh, excellent! Oh, God. Oh, is there any way they can both lose? Well, Twitter's not going to be boring at all, is it, tonight?
Is that little fullback for them? That what's he called? This is good podcasting, isn't it? The young lad who was at Wrexham a few years ago, and he looked well out of his depth. What was his name? Is that still him? Obviously not McLean, the other one. Is it Cleworth?
Yeah, Max.
Cleworth, yeah.
Yeah,
Is
but
that
he's been away and he's come back, I think.
How's he a
hasn't he?
League One footballer? I know, again, this is obviously going to come back and bite me on the arse, but I remember when we played them in the National League, and he was probably really young, but I remember thinking he was like the weak link. And I remember him having a bit of a pop at Paddy in the 3-0 game when they turned it over.
He's no, he hasn't been
He
away.
came through the academy.
He's stayed, but he has been very good this season. I had him in my EFL team for a few weeks.
Oh, good on him.
But no, he's played for Connors Key, Wrexham, come through Wrexham Academy, went to Carnarvon for a bit for a loan, and then he's been back at Wrexham since 21.
Right. Yeah, because I remember him.
He's just scored 2 goals this season so far.
I'm sure he played on the left when in the National League. It looks like he's on the right here. But yeah, I do remember thinking.
Yeah, he's right-footed.
Yeah,
they're really raving about
I tell
him
you what,
this
though,
season,
Ben, he's
really
only
well,
22 now.
He's our Ryan Rydell, but not as good. He's got the
before this becomes a Wrexham watch along, I might nip off and watch the rest of it. So we will be back same time next week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all that stuff. Podcast will be out tomorrow. Although if you're listening to it on the podcast, then it's out now. Job done. Shall we say goodbye to everybody?
Yes, and if you haven't got your tickets yet already, there's still, I think, a few available for the Dave Jones evening at Basque on Wednesday. It's a county-filled week.
It's pure county. What else are you going to do on a Wednesday night? Job's a good one.
I'm going with my daddy.
All over that. I think I shall be nipping down, I reckon. So I will probably see you there. Right, let's go. Bye, everybody.
Bye.